Hello, fourth grade historians, and welcome back. I am Mrs. Lamondo, and today we are at our very last lesson, all about our immigration unit. Today, we're going to look at a fun, quick little video about how America truly is a melting pot, and then we're going to have a quick little reading passage and assessment all about unfair immigration laws and how immigrants have been treated so unfairly throughout the course of American history. So let's get started. So first we have this fun little video from Schoolhouse Rock, all about how we truly are the great American melting pot.
As your body grows bigger, your mind grows stronger. It's great to learn, 'cause knowledge is power. It's Schoolhouse Rocket, don't you buckle up on your favorite Schoolhouse Rock. My grandmother came from Russia, a satchel on her knee. My grandfather had his father's cap he brought from Italy. They'd heard about a country where life might let them win. They paid the fare to America and there they melted in. A lovely lady Liberty with her book of recipes and the finest one she's got. America was founded by the English, but also by the Germans, Dutch, and French.
The principle still sticks, our heritage is mixed.
So any kid could be the president. You simply melt right in. It doesn't matter what your skin, doesn't matter where you're from, your religion, jump right in to an American melting pot, an American melting pot. We're stupid, red, white, and blue. America was the new world, and Europe was the old. America was the land of hope, or so the legend told. On steamboats by the millions, in search of honest pay, those 19th century immigrants sailed to reach the USA. Lovely lady Liberty, with her book of recipes, and the finest one she's got. An American melting pot, an American melting pot. What good ingredients Liberty and immigrants? They brought their country's customs, their language, and their ways. They built the factories to the soil, helped build the USA. Go on and ask your grandma, hear what she has to tell. How great to be American and something else as well. Lovely lady Liberty, with her book of recipes, and the finest one she's got. An American melting pot, 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 an American melting pot.
Awesome. Now we're going to read the passage Immigration together and answer questions about the passage in Google Forms. All right, so this is immigration. The United States of America has long been the world's chief receiving nation for immigrants. An immigrant is a person who leaves his or her country to settle and live in another country. Over the years, many millions of people have uprooted and left family and friends to move to America. Some felt forced to leave because they feared for their lives due to dangers present in their home countries. For example, many immigrants left countries that were at war or that didn't give them the freedom to practice their faith. Immigrants also left their native lands if they couldn't find work or enough food to live. Whatever the reason, immigrants usually have had to sacrifice a life that is familiar for one that is unknown. The United States was founded by immigrants. From the 1600s through 1775, European colonists settled in the land that is now the United States. Most of these, okay. Whoopsie doodles. Get back to where we are. Get out of there. Okay, sorry about that. Most of these immigrants were from England. Others arrived from France, Germany, Ireland, Scotland, and Spain. Many of these colonists came here looking for economic opportunity. They wanted better land to farm or better work. Others came to escape religious persecution. Some were even convicts brought over from English jails. West Africans also immigrated to the American colonies, but they came against their will. They were captured, sold into slavery, and shipped to the colonies. Since the United States was established in the late 1700s, it has seen 3 waves of immigration. That's really important to remember, 3 different parts. The first wave of American immigration took place from 1820 to 1870, so this was before Ellis Island. Over 7 million people made the voyage to America, mostly from Northern and Western Europe. About a third of these immigrants were Irish people trying to escape famine that plagued Ireland in the mid-1840s. So famine means that there wasn't enough food for everyone. Another third of the immigrants were German. The Chinese also began to immigrate to America during this time. They got word of the gold rush in California. They came to work in the mines and get rich. This flood of immigrants wasn't always welcomed by those in America. Some feared these newcomers would take away their jobs. Others didn't like the politics, customs, and/or religions the new immigrants brought with them. So here we're seeing a couple different reasons why people were unkind or even racist to the immigrants as they entered. For example, many Irish people were discriminated against for being Roman Catholic. The Chinese also suffered greatly from discrimination. Discrimination is when you treat someone unfairly based on something out of their control, like their gender or their ethnicity. The next wave of U.S. immigration was by far the greatest. So this is when we're talking about Ellis Island. It started in 1881 and ended in 1920. Over 23 million people immigrated to the United States during this period, most of whom came from Southern and Eastern Europe. But by this time, anti-immigration sentiments had become so strong that a growing number of people demanded laws to make it harder for foreigners to become American citizens. In 1875, Congress passed its first immigration law intended to limit immigration. So this was the first time Congress said, we're going to limit the amount of people who can come in. It kept people who were viewed as undesirable out, including convicts. In 1882, Congress also passed the Chinese Exclusion Act. Exclusion means not allowing someone to join you. It prohibited Chinese workers from coming to the United States. A few years later, other laws were passed. One required adult immigrants to have literacy skills. That means they had to be able to read. Another limited the amount of immigrants from countries outside the Western Hemisphere. However, one of the greatest blows to immigration was the Great Depression of the 1930s. Immigration sharply declined. In fact, there were more people leaving America than coming to America during this time. So when we think about the Great Depression, we're talking about a time where the economy was really bad. People were out of work. People couldn't find work. People didn't have food to feed their families. The third wave of immigration began in 1965 and continues today. Most immigrants in this wave have come from Asian countries as well as South American countries, Caribbean countries, and Mexico. A large number of these immigrants have settled in the East and Midwest. However, many others have moved to California. Most immigrants have come to America with the hope of building a better life. However, they were sometimes met with hatred by people already living in the country who feared economic and cultural impacts of these newcomers. While this discrimination and the economic downfall of the Great Depression had a negative effect on immigration, American immigration has managed to survive. So we look at your Google form. A couple different questions. How many waves of immigration to the United States does the text describe? 2, 3, 4. According to the text, there were strong anti-immigration sentiments in America by the late 1800s. One cause of this was that people already living in America feared the newcomers would take away their jobs. What was one effect of this anti-immigration sentiment? United States immigration increased. The United States government passed laws making it easier for immigrants to become American citizens. The United States government passed laws intended to limit immigration. Sometimes there were cultural differences between the people already living in America and immigrants who had moved to America. What information from the text best supports this information? Some people in America didn't like the politics, customs, and/or religions the new immigrants brought with them. Over 7 million people came to America during its first wave of immigration. One of the greatest blows to immigration was the Great Depression of the 1930s. How can the United States' attitude towards immigrants during the late 1800s best be described? Accepting, unfriendly, tolerant. What was this text mostly about? How views on immigration have changed in America. The impact of immigration on the economy and culture of America. Discrimination against immigrants in America. Read the following sentences from the text. In 1875, Congress passed its first immigration law intended to limit immigration. It kept people who were viewed as undesirable out, including convicts. In 1882, Congress also passed the Chinese Exclusion Act. It prohibited Chinese workers from coming to the United States. Based on the text, what does the word limit mean? Spike, increase, restrict. And last but not least, choose the answer that best completes the sentence. In the late 1800s, America passed laws intended to keep certain people from coming into the United States. Blank. Congress passed a law in 1882 preventing Chinese workers from coming to the United States. Although, as a result, for example. Fourth grade historians, it has been so wonderful chatting with you about the history of immigration in the United States of America. That concludes our lesson on immigration. Please check in with your teacher to make sure that you have completed all of the assignments for this unit, and we will be moving on to something new soon. Until next time, fourth grade historians, I'll see you then. Bye.